Let's talk to Mark Littlewood now. He's the Director of Popular Conservatism. I don't know, Mark, if you were just listening to Georgina, talking a lot more sense than the Prime Minister yesterday, managing not to call anyone racist.
Yeah, a bit of a low bar to talk more sense than the Prime Minister, but I agree. She cleared it with aplomb, Julia. I'll agree with that. Yeah.
No, let's talk of plombs on this show. What do you make? I've got to ask you, what you make of Keir Starmer there, accusing Nigel Farage of being a snake oil merchant. He says he doesn't like our country, doesn't believe in our country. We've had, David Lammy talking about him flirting with Hitler Youth and then having sort of backtrack. We had Diane Abbott last night on Newsnight. Apparently it's to show people apparently it still exists, saying that, I'm all for people giving him a good kicking. We've got Wes Streeting earlier in the week talking about how Farage is a con artist. He's non-stop. And then Nigel Farage basically issuing a statement yesterday going, look, you're basically inciting violence against reform. You're starring everybody and saying our policies are racist. You're saying we're racist and you're saying voters are racist. And you're basically, a few weeks after Charlie Kirk, basically kind of giving people justification to attack us. What do you make of that war of words?
Nigel Farage must be punching the air along with the entire Reform Party press operation. You cannot buy publicity like this.
This is true.
It needs to be gifted to you, typically gifted to you by someone extremely stupid. And that's what the Labour Party has basically done. I don't think any of the attacks on Nigel Farage stick at all. In fact, I think people will be pretty repulsed by what senior Labour figures have said about him. And this idea that he doesn't love the country, I think Nigel Farage is in the position that many of us are in. We love our country, we just don't like the way it's going at the moment.
It's because we love our country.
The country from the disaster it's in.
Yeah, it's because we love our country and believe it's great and has greater days ahead rather than behind it, that we want it to be the country it should be.
Yeah. And the other thing which I found toe-curling, really, Julia, was all this sort of waving of Union Jacks. Look, I'm very happy to see the waving of Union Jacks at all sorts of events.
Instead of Palestinian flags, that's the start.
Yeah, but it reminded me a bit when I was at school and I'd be in a school hall with 1,000 other boys sort of muttering and droning our way through some Christian hymn at assembly. It wasn't as if we were engaged with the rapture of Christian spirituality. We were sort of doing it begrudgingly. And that seemed very much what the Labour Party conference looked like. Yeah. And it just seems to me that they're completely out of sync with public opinion on a whole load of things. It was just a few weeks ago that Keir Starmer claimed the Union flag stood for diversity. Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, it just really doesn't.
But again, also they're the same people
needs to stand for diversity.
Yeah, the same people who say that that migrants who've come here who apparently could be deported by Nigel Farage, and he wants to deport people who are either here illegally or who are not making a contribution, not working on benefits, and not a net contributor to this country, not speaking enough English and things like that. He says that they are the backbone and they're the absolute key part of our country. And it's like, no, they're not. They're the opposite of that. And this idea that we are a nation of immigrants, again, no, we're not. We certainly weren't until 20 years ago. It's almost like the people who claim to love the country, they haven't been paying attention to this country.
Yes, or they're trying to create a new country. You're quite right. Yeah. Historically, Julia, we are not a nation built on immigration. We are very different to the history of the United States in that regard. We have typically, over the centuries, had a stable indigenous white population. Now, that can change. I'm pro-immigration in some aspects, but the idea that you then rewrite history... the next thing I'm waiting to hear is that the St George's Cross, representing St George, who was a Turk, is a representation of how much we love all the Turkish barber shops that are cropping up on every high street corner. That's the sort of nonsense, the sort of retrofitting of history that we're increasingly hearing from those who I think don't really understand what patriotism is.
No, indeed. Well, again, and no wonder a lot of people don't, because what kids are being taught in our schools is quite shocking. Again, they're inundated with propaganda, whether it's about climate change or immigration, trans ideology, and they really, I don't think most parents have a clue how much their children are being indoctrinated. But a school, the Broadoak School in Partington in Greater Manchester, had to apologise after a teacher made a presentation to students which was criticised for being impartial and unbalanced. Partial and unbalanced, I'd say. The school teacher admitted telling students that St George's flags can be viewed as racist symbols. On what basis? And this is, of course, after this trend of St George's flags being hung from lampposts around the UK. And this all started after, I think, was it Birmingham City Council, where they had a whole load of Palestinian flags being hung, and people went, why are there a load of Palestinian flags being hung on our, but we would like the Union flag, our country's flag. And yet, I bet if a teacher had said that the Palestinian flag could be taught to be racist, I bet they'd be being disciplined by their school. It is just extraordinary. We are the only country in the world that teaches that the images, the emblems of our nation, our nationhood, of our culture, of our history, of our people are racist.
Yeah, I mean, I think this teacher went on to say, if I read the story correctly, that the St George's flag or the Union flag are not intrinsically racist.
That's nice.
But some people do see them that way. Well, the people who see them that way tend to be lefty woke teachers in our state comprehensive schools. Those are the ones who seem to see it that way. It is extraordinary. I mean, unfortunately, I think our education system and to some degree the curriculum has fallen into the hands of people who don't much like our country and are determined to teach children that they shouldn't like it either. What I'm interested to know is what disciplinary action has been taken against this teacher. Yeah. So it's one thing for the head to send out a letter to the parents bemoaning what was said and apologising if any offence was caused, but that seems to me insufficient. Yeah. If we have teachers teaching this sort of stuff in classrooms, in my view, they should be removed, not just a letter sent to parents apologising.
Sent to the re-education camp. I mean, who knows? Who else needs to be re-educated? The Bar Council. They represent barristers in England and Wales. Very, very, very crucial job. If you ever get accused of a crime, charged with a crime, go to court, you will need a barrister to represent you. They've got a 6-week summer internship scheme. Absolutely. I mean, extraordinary opportunity for people to get on that, to make their way into a very difficult career to get into. It's only going to allow black or mixed race university students and graduates to join. White students are barred from this programme. It's known as the 10,000 Black Interns programme and described by, the independent MP Rupert Lowe as pure racism. There's no doubt at all that some of the top professions in this country are very difficult for kids from, let's go with ordinary backgrounds to come from. There's a lot of sharp-elbowed middle classes. People, mums like me, who can help provide links, OK? But why on earth would, say, for instance, a black kid that's gone to Eton be allowed to go on this programme, but a white kid growing up on a housing estate in, say, Liverpool, where the Labour conference is right now, would not be judged to be someone deserving of this? I mean, this is racism, isn't it?
Oh, straight down the line, racism. Racism goes both ways. I mean, I don't think you should discriminate on the grounds of race whatsoever. Yeah. If you want to sort of have a beady eye on, there could be a lot of great raw talent out there amongst young people that hasn't yet flourished because they didn't have the opportunity to, complete their A-levels, go to a top university, go to university at all or whatever. By all means, try and pick out that potential. But to do it on the grounds of race is absolutely extraordinary. Can you imagine if it was the other way round?
Yeah,
Only
exactly.
Whites need apply. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And, I think we need to sort of get back to the key Martin Luther King motto. He would be spinning in his grave about this. You judge people on the content of their character, not the colour of their skin. Well, the Bar Council are doing exactly that. They're judging people on the colour of their skin, not the content of their character.
Just extraordinary.
Outrageous.
It really is, and it does need to be called out. And again, this idea there's a sort of historical wrong that needs to be righted. And it's like, no, lots of the top jobs are largely white because we're a largely white country, and the large proportion of the population who are not white in this country are fairly recent arrivals, or the children of recent arrivals, and there is a natural progression in every country from that. Again, I just find it extraordinary that people stir up this stuff. I really do. I must ask you about this, as someone popular conservatism, but also you're at the Institute of Economic Affairs, a free market think tank. We had a lot of madness going on during COVID and during lockdown, and one of the mad things were these VIP lanes for either MPs or peers, particularly Tories, to say, oh, hello, I know somebody who's got a business that can provide just with some latex gloves for the nurses or some PPE gowns for the hospitals. One of those such people, it turns out, was the Tory peer Michelle Mone, although she pretended to have nothing to do with it later in all documents. It turns out that she basically touted her own a business set up by her own husband, Doug Barrowman. This was a company called PPE MedPro to provide 25 million gowns to hospitals. 122 million pounds they were going to be paid for this. Turns out they were faulty, they weren't sterile. Court this morning has ruled that this was incorrect, improper, and has ordered the company to repay that money. What do you make of that case?
Well, good that the money should be repaid. It's a straight breach of contract, isn't it? If you order something that isn't up to snuff, you get your money back. Yep. So the UK taxpayer should get their 122 million back. Look, it's a tricky one, this. I think, Julia, you and I would agree that the government handled COVID extraordinarily badly and often quite madly. But let's imagine a national emergency where you suddenly need to lay your hands on a lot of stuff. Could be medical stuff, could be metal, could be God only knows silicon chips, God only knows what. It does seem to me in that scenario that it's not unreasonable for the government to say, look, has anyone got any contacts at all?
Yeah.
Does anyone in Parliament know anybody who makes this stuff?
But there were no even basic cursory checks made. I made more checks on the bloke who comes to clean my windows than these people made on people that were handing millions or even billions of pounds to.
Well, I think that you're right on the checks, and I think you suggested that earlier in the show, Julia, as well, that there should have been a much clearer undertaking. So great, you're in the VIP fast lane. OK, potentially we can get millions of medical gloves or masks or whatever else we're supposed to need from this company. However, you got to sign in blood on the dotted line that you understand very clearly the spec that we're asking for. And if you do not deliver to that spec, we will come after you, not just to recoup our money, but for the distraction and confusion and discombobulation that you have proven.
Could have cost
VIP
lives.
fast lines, yes, but with a big list of T's and C's attached to them.
Absolutely. Basic stuff. Again, the fact that no one in our government, no civil servant appears to be able to write a decent contract or read one, I find utterly despairing. Mark Littlewood, Director of Public Conservatism, great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Quick break, then we'll take your calls. More from Claire Pearsall. This is Talk.